Yeah, I think, Arch, the one common theme that we've started to talk about, and both of us were, kind of in that leadership position to create non-conference schedules, how important it is because, the false narrative of that college basketball begins after Christmas and everybody has to be playing their best as you enter March Madness. I'm not denying that you want to play well as you enter March Madness or the month of March, but the only way you get to play in the month of March with any meaning is by who you schedule, who you beat. By the way, you're affiliated with a conference, how well your conference does in terms of non-conference schedule, non-conference opportunities. If you are a heavyweight, it's not just winning your non-conference games, but who did you beat and where was the game played? If you're somebody that's in charge of rebuilding a program, you not only help yourself by getting the most wins, but you also really help the conference that you play in. When I was a part of Pac-10 and Pac-12, and we struggled at times to get more teams in the NCAA tournament, we settled in on a number, and it wasn't our number that we created. It was just the mad science of the NCAA tournament over a decade, 15, 20 years of who gets selected and what are the statistics that you can look at that there's no denying. They're facts. And the facts that we came up with, and I really look at it from this perspective on this podcast, is you as a conference, especially in the Power Five, you have to check in close to 75% win percentage as a conference. If you do that, you give yourself the most opportunities to get the most teams in with the best seeds in this year's NCAA tournament. And as we approach Christmas, Arch, the data, and I know you have it in front of you. Let's start with the conference that I brought up, the Pac-12. And let's look at it from this perspective. There's 3 teams in the Pac-12 that are having great starts to the year: Arizona, USC, and UCLA. There's no denying it.
Those guys are combined 23-1 right now.
So they're 23-1. So let's exclude those 3 and now say, when you talk about the conference that they play in, right?
Yeah.
What is the other
Pac-12? I think if you eliminate Arizona, USC, and UCLA, I think the Pac-12 in general right now would be around 41-30 non-conference, which is 57% winning percentage.
And that's a problem. That's a problem.
A big problem.
It's an anchor that pulls down the 3 heavyweights. The 3 heavyweights almost are not allowed to pull a 4th team in the conversation for the tournament, simply because there's been too many non-conference opportunities that they've not passed the test. Conversely, and before we go conversely, I thought the one other interesting is the overall percentage, non-conference win percentage of the Pac-12 right now is what, 60? You said
67% right, added as a league.
But the ACC is lower.
Yeah, 62% as a league.
Now they have more teams, 16 teams to 12 teams.
Yeah.
I'm right about that.
If 47 non-conference losses as a league, 62% as a conference and non-conference. I believe the ACC has lost 8 bye games this season so far. As a league, with what the Pac-12 has, and everyone's kind of really focused in on the Pac-12, but they have 3, maybe Final 4 teams, at least 3 teams that right now aspire to get top 2, 3 seeds. And the ACC right now, other than Duke, I don't really believe there is a top 4 seed. If there is, it's North Carolina, and that's it.
And what you worry about if you're in the ACC, and why we bring it up, is there's going to be a lot of teams late February, early March in the ACC that improve, that are certainly capable of winning games in this year's NCAA tournament. But the problem is they've hurt themselves so badly as a conference that they're not going to get that benefit of the doubt to get in, and they're not going to get as many bids. If you look at the Pac-12 and the ACC, based on where they're at right now, and not a lot's going to change. We're almost towards the end of the non-conference season right now. They're not going to be able to keep up with. Now let's flip it. And we talked about the Big 12 is by far being the best conference in college basketball, top to bottom. Their non-conference win percentage,
85%.
It's crazy.
78-14 as a league. 85% win percentage, which I mean, when I was in the Atlantic 10, keep this in mind, the Atlantic 10 was doing everything they can, and they always are, they still are, trying to get as many bids as you can as a league. And the topic of conversation one spring was win 80% of your conference games. That's the only way we could overcome the Power Five leagues, to be able to steal bids. Think about the Big 12 getting 85% in their win percentage in non-conference. You can make the case the Big 12 is going to get damn near every team is going to be ready to go when they start league play.
Yeah. And look, people get mad. I mean, I remember you get angry when you're the coach in the league because you're in it. You believe in your team. You believe in your conference. Hey, you're like, wait a second. We played a tough non-conference schedule or we beat this team. But again, the math is the math. And now we're all at the mercy in college basketball of the conference we play in. You want them to do well. The Big East, by the way, to finish this, is right below the
right about 79-80%. The Big East has done a great job as well.
Great job.
Those two leagues to me comprise a heavy dose of over seeding, overbidding. The Big Ten and the SEC are probably what I would consider right on cue, right where they're supposed to be. The Big Ten's actually down from the last couple of years, if you can imagine that. They're at 73% as a league. And the SEC's higher than them at 74%, but you would make the case that those two teams are probably right in line with what you expect them to be.
Right. So again, it's scary for some teams out there because, I hate to talk March Madness in December, but the whole purpose of bringing it up is how you schedule as a conference impacts everybody, not just the program that you represent. The non-conference win percentage of your conference impacts everybody. And the days of cheering against each other as a conference ended. You're so dependent on everybody doing well. I think the other part, there's two teams in the Pac-12 that are right now near the bottom of the net when you look at the Power Five. I mean, I think if you look at where Oregon State and Washington happen to be right now, they're really historically bad right now. And I think Washington, in fairness to them, has gone through some COVID issues. But anyway, I think the state of college basketball, as we start pointing towards the holiday season, Arch, you got the Big 12, historically great, Big East right below. And then like you had mentioned, you have to give the Big 10 in the SEC their due. And then on the bottom side of it, the Pac-12 and the ACC really has struggled in non-conference. And
I just feel like this is going to be the year when you look at the Loyola of Chicago, if they don't win the Valley, the Ionas, if they don't win the conference tournament, if they, go, the Furmans of the world that win 25, 26, 27 games, don't get the automatic berth. And you compare those to the 10-8 or 12-6 Pac-12 team that finishes in fourth, or the, fourth place team in the ACC who goes, 13-7 in league play, kind of like Nebraska did 4 or 5 years ago in the Big Ten. They went 13-7 in the Big Ten and didn't get in. To me, this is one of those years where those two leagues aren't going to get that, play-in game. They're going to get those late seeds, and it could be as high of a regular season finisher as maybe even third, fourth, or fifth in those two leagues that aren't going to get in with the automatic bids that don't come through. So those are the repercussions that go through.